Let's go! Good afternoon. Welcome into Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. It is Wednesday, despite my thoughts otherwise earlier today when I thought it was Tuesday.
Could have been worse.
Could have been worse.
You could have asserted it to someone else that it was Tuesday. And
I did not, so thank goodness. But it is Wednesday, January 25th, and we are so glad to be with you here. It's Wild and Wacky Wednesday, and we've got a great show lined up for you. That was loud.
it was. Yeah, sorry. I had my
That was an odd echo.
I had my computer mic and speaker on from our
meeting
staff meeting earlier
that
today.
takes place on Wednesdays.
Not Tuesdays.
Not Tuesdays.
Which is why you weren't
In
there.
the meeting. Oh man, what a day. It's been a good one though. And we do have a good show. We have Heather Williams, who is going to join us and talk about her trip to the NASCAR Hall of Fame induction. Also, her trip back with some hardware in tow.
How about that?
It's pretty exciting. So
But not surprising.
No, not at all. Not at all. So we'll talk to her. We'll also talk to Mississippi Braves radio voice. I assume he doesn't have an analyst. He's probably like Jeff and just does it by himself.
I can't imagine a AA radio announcer having a color guy unless it's just somebody that just
shows up,
walks in.
so we'll just say the radio voice of the Mississippi
Yeah.
Braves, Chris Harris, and talk to him a little bit about the developing news that Chip Carey will not be in the TV booth for the Atlanta Braves for the first time in 44 years. That Carey will not be in the booth.
Now, is that done?
It's official.
Okay.
It's done. And now the long process of finding someone to go in the booth,
It can't be too long.
or not, in my opinion. Yeah. But I don't need a play-by-play man for a television broadcast. I can see what just happened. What I do want is Jeff Francoeur and Peter Moylan just to chat.
Just
to
pull a Manning, huh?
Just Manning cast it.
That's not going to happen.
It's not, but tell me it wouldn't be the way better option. You could throw BJ in there, put those three in the booth, and just let them have a good time.
That's not going to happen.
Somebody's got to facilitate.
Yeah, somebody's got to direct traffic.
And that's what you need a play-by-play voice for.
Yeah.
But you don't need them to be play-by-play because, again, I can see what happened.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll talk to Chris about what he thinks about the situation and what he thinks about the Braves and their current situation.
Which is the bigger vacancy, play-by-play or shortstop?
It's a good question. Well, one of them we don't have anybody for.
One of them doesn't affect the game.
I know, but it's not really a vacancy.
Yeah.
I don't think. That's it.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll get to all of that and much, much more. We'll talk a little college hoops, Hall of Fame announcement last night, all of that coming your way in just a moment. But before we do anything else, Mo, we need to get to yesterday's results and still on the rundown.
This is the Rundown.
Girls high school basketball action from Tuesday night. Beach defeated Hunters Lane 79-12. Middle Tennessee Christian defeated Battleground Academy 70-58. Brentwood Academy downs Pope Prep 64-20. It was Stewart's Creek 52, Cane Ridge 41. Cookville with an 83-23 win over Wilson Central. Nashville Christian defeated Davidson Academy 40-32. Ezel Harding with a 36-24 win over Donaldson Christian. Trousdale County defeated East Robertson 52-47. It was Father Ryan 43, Harpeth Hall 39. Fayetteville with a 68-38 win over Eagleville. Forest down visiting Fairview 51-39. It was Franklin 62, Overton 51. Franklin Classical with a 39-23 win over Zion Christian. Franklin Road Christian defeated South Haven Christian 66-23. Good Pasture with a 49-31 win over Friendship Christian. Columbia Academy defeated Grace Christian out of Franklin 62-50. Green Hill knocked off Mount Juliet 70-24. It was Collinwood 82, Hampshire 45. Sycamore with a 54-21 win over Harpeth. Hendersonville defeated Station Camp 44-34. Independence with a 48-39 win over Columbia Central. Joe Burns 54, Merrill High 32. Stratford defeated Kip Nashville 49-7. Loretto goes south, gets a 65-59 win at Lauderdale County of Alabama. Lawrence County defeated Spring Hill 59-38, and it was Christ Presbyterian Academy 46, Lipscomb Academy 40.
McEwen down to Dixon County 57-53. It was Gallatin 57, McGavock 25. Greenbrier 69-38 winners over Montgomery Central. Clarksville Academy 96-14 winners over Mount Juliet Christian. It was Giles County getting their second win in district play. A 48-35 winner over Mount Pleasant. It was Murfreesboro Central Magnet 50, Hillwood 11. Oakland 62-20 over Laverne. Page downs Marshall County 52-44. Creekwood with a win over Portland 45-33. With Webb School 75, Providence Christian 24. Brentwood Battle of the Woods winners on the girls' side 81-45 over Ravenwood. Blackman down Riverdale 60-18. Rockville 55, Siegel 35. Santa Fe big win over Culleoka in district play 59-49. It was Smyrna 73, Antioch 40, Innsworth 62, St. Cecilia Academy 55. Summertown 83-11 winners over Lewis County. Nolensville down Summit 63-54. Warren Central Kentucky was a 40-32 winner over Kenwood in class 2A top 10 matchup. Wayne County 60, Richland 47.
1A.
That's right there, 1A. I was thinking about
Top
Summertown.
10, 1A.
It is top 10, though. They're in Class A. Rossview is a 59-37 win over West Creek, White House 53, Liberty Creek 30, and Cheatham County 65, White House Heritage 29.
Boys high school basketball action on Tuesday night. Beach with a 72-52 win over Hunters Lane. Battleground Academy defeated Middle Tennessee Christian 66-64. It was Brentwood Academy 82, Pope Prep 58. Stewart's Creek defeats Cane Ridge 77-68. Westmoreland with an 82-43 win over Christian Community. Cookville edges Wilson Central 66-44. Davidson Academy 81. Nashville Christian 38. East Robertson defeats Trousdale County 60-46. Montgomery Bell Academy with a 47-41 win over Father Ryan. Eagleville 60. Fayetteville 58. Fairview goes to Forest, gets a 62-44 win. Franklin 76-42 over Overton. Franklin Classical defeated Zion Christian 83-68. Glencliff with an 84-82 win over Maplewood. Good Pasture defeated Friendship Christian 72-49. Grace Christian of Franklin hit 19 threes. Columbia Academy won 83-75. Green Hill with a 54-46 win over Mount Juliet. Collinwood defeated Hampshire 70-38. Station Camp with a 46-35 win over Hendersonville. Hillsboro 51, Centennial 45. Independence with a 78-56 win over Columbia Central. Loretto downs Lauderdale County, Alabama 40-35. Lawrence County 56, Spring Hill 40. Christ Presbyterian Academy 55, Lipscomb Academy 48. Dixon County 68, McEwen 56. Gallatin defeats McGavock 73-47. Greenbrier 64, Montgomery Central 39. Clarksville Academy downs Mount Juliet Christian 73-17. And Giles County with the 61-54 win at Mount Pleasant.
Murfreesboro Central Magnet was a 49-46 winner over Hillwood. It was Oakland 62-51 over Laverne. Page 65, Marshall County 47. Portland was a 55-52 winner against Creekwood. It was Webb School 60, Providence Christian 32, Ravenwood 50, Brentwood 48. 55-49 was the score. Blackman over Riverdale, and Rockville 64-57 winners against Siegel. It was Santa Fe 58, Culleoka 42, Antioch 60, Smyrna 50. Summertown was a 51-48 winner over Lewis County, and Nolensville down Summit 56-45. It was University of School in Nashville with a 55-53 win over Franklin Road Academy. Tennessee Heat down to Upperman 62-56. Warren Central Kentucky 81-34 winners over Kenwood. It was Cascade 71, Watertown 47, Wayne County 61, Richland 58. That's a big win for Wayne County. Rossview Downs West Creek 63-47, White House 58, Liberty Creek 40, and White House Heritage 52-47 winners over Cheatham County. In National Hockey League play, the Preds beat the Jets 2-1.
Today's sports action of local interest. High school basketball doubleheader. Springfield goes to Clarksville Northeast. That's a 6 o'clock start for the girls. In men's basketball action at 6 o'clock, you can see it on SEC Network as Georgia takes on host number 5 Tennessee. And at 7 on ESPN Plus, Belmont travels to Evansville, and we will be able to kind of recap that tomorrow night when Casey Alexander joins us on Coach's Corner at 2:20. NBA action tonight, the Grizzlies at the Warriors. That's a 9 o'clock start on ESPN. And that is your rundown.
All right. Well, that's deep schedule today. Deep schedule. That's okay. Mo top story today coming from Rocky Top as extensions on extensions on extensions. Danny White is extended.
Everybody getting paid.
Everybody's getting paid $2.2 million per year, which seems awfully irrelevant compared to the football coach.
Yeah, well.
But he's a top 10 AD.
In terms of, really, at 2.2? Wow.
See,
it's kind of crazy.
Here's the thing, though. Most ADs are paid by the schools completely, whereas football coaches are paid through supplements, which are in athletic department funds donated and such. Typically, your AD is paid pretty much through the university.
And I would imagine there are incentives in AD contracts as well, depending on how programs compete, on how graduation rates, different things like that. I would think
if there are for Danny White, he's getting a lot of money because the University of Tennessee just won its first ever SEC All Sports Trophy, which is huge. I mean,
sure. I mean, when you look across this conference and you look at the number of programs that are having high levels of success in a number of different endeavors, to win the All Sports Cup in this conference it just means more.
It's really impressive what he's been able to do in such a short time. I mean, obviously there were some great programs already on campus, but making the decisions that he's made over the last 2.5 years, he's had some tough ones to make, and he's much like Alex Anthopoulos, he hasn't missed yet. And so in Danny White, we trust kind of thing until
further notice.
Until he gives you reason not to. Yeah. So I think this is a big deal. I think it's a good move. I think obviously keeping your athletics director happy when he's the guy who, went and got your football coach who, let's be honest, the only emotional tie he has to the university right now is the athletics director, who has hired him now twice. So it's important to keep your best assets happy, and I think keeping Danny White happy does that.
Yeah.
want to get to something a little bit later, Mo, but we can mention it now. The Pro Baseball Hall of Fame announcement last night. Scott Rowland going into the Hall of Fame.
Now, we're going to get to this later, or we're going to get to it now?
We've got 5 minutes.
All right, then.
Scott Rowland is a pretty good ball player.
Mm-hmm.
I think his numbers are probably Hall of Fame worthy. I mean, the fact is, dude's got like 70 WAR, which is insane. But almost every other number is comparable to Dale Murphy. And Dale Murphy is not in the Hall of Fame. So my question is Dale Murphy a Hall of Famer, or is this
or is Scott Rowland not?
Or is this a Hall of Fame? Is this the WAR Hall of Fame?
You know, I'm not a big analytics guy. A lot of it escapes me at my advanced age.
I don't know what wins above replacement means.
Well, but there are a number of people that will swear by it, and there are a number of people who will make great fun of you because you don't get it. But what I do get is 316 home runs
versus 398 for Dale Murphy. Continue.
1,287 RBIs.
Few more than Dale.
I mean, there are just numbers that have come to be landmarks.
He doesn't really.
400 home runs is one of them. Now, I do have a friend, a guy that, an older fraternity brother of mine who we reconnected on Facebook here some years ago, Joe Piercy, and he had thoughts on this subject. And basically what he's saying is, and I guess this is a thought, hitting is only half of the game. Scott Rowland was one of the 3 or 4 best third basemen in the history of the game defensively. Rowland was a Hall of Fame defensive player. Brooks Robinson was no Hall of Fame hitter. Rowland was demonstrably better offensively than Robinson, but Brooks Robinson was a first ballot Hall of Famer, and he was elected in that first year because of his defense. So apparently defense and infield defense in particular, because I don't know, because clearly outfield defense doesn't mean a whole lot, because that would enhance the candidacy of the other Brave who did not get in yesterday.
Andrew Jones.
Yeah.
Look, Scott Rowland and Chipper Jones are the only full-time third baseman to be elected to the Hall since like 1980.
Apparently, it's third base is the least represented defensive position in the Hall of Fame.
You would think that it would be. I mean, I guess shortstop is the most difficult.
Or catcher.
Does catcher count as infield? I don't know. I kind of count it as battery, so I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know how that's. I don't know how the experts count it.
Yeah.
The people who matter. What I say doesn't really matter.
No, not at all.
But it's probably shortstop the most difficult, third base the second most difficult, second base and first base the least difficult in that order.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not mad that Scott Rowland.
I'm not kicking on Scott Rowland at all. I mean, fantastic career. I just never got Hall of Fame from Scott Rowland. I just didn't.
I will say this. The unfortunate part of the people who are on the ballot right now is that baseball in that era was full of a lot of really good players, but not a lot of great ones because all the great ones were juicing.
Here's the thing about Scott Rowland, and again, not necessarily kicking on Scott Rowland, just, relative to some of the arguments against some other folks that you hear. In the last 8 years of his career, he only hit 20-plus home runs twice. He has single-digit home runs more. Now, maybe there were injuries involved there because there's a pretty low number of games. He played 92 games with the Reds in 2012, played 65 in 2011. Again, he hit 22 home runs, 95 RBI in 2006, and then he only topped 20 one other time when he hit 20 with Cincinnati. Now, again, I'm showing my age because I'm looking at power numbers and I'm not looking at WAR and slash and OBP and all that
OPS
stuff.
is my favorite.
On base plus slugging.
And he has a career of 855.
What does that mean?
It's well above average.
Is it? I mean, I'm okay.
I mean, you'd like it to be 900, but I mean, his career slugging percentage was 490. I mean, that's nearly half the balls he hit were extra bases. That's pretty good. I mean, dude had 50 doubles almost 3 different times. He had 49, 48, and 45 doubles. That's pretty solid. Won several Gold Gloves. Never won MVP. Of course, he was never the MVP on his own team because he played with Pujols for a while in St. Louis, in Philadelphia. I guess he might have been, but I don't know.
Now, for comparison, for what we're in the sense of full disclosure, Murphy's career OPS was 815, and his career slugging was 469.
There you go.
But he played like 5 more years, I think.
Yeah, his last
only one.
His last few years, though, after he got hurt, really dumped those numbers. And I think that has to be somewhat, talked about.
Rowland was the only player elected or announced as a inductee yesterday. Todd Helton came up just short of the 75%
He's
necessary, but he came in at 72.3%, I think. So there's the rest of them. Well, not everybody's watching, are they? I don't know, but
I was just pointing so you could.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
I think Billy Wagner's getting in, and I think Andrew Jones is going to get real close.
I think I saw a tweet yesterday that said anybody who has ever came in at 43.5% or something like that in any balloting has eventually gotten in.
Well, Jeff Kent is done at 46.5. He's the only one that is done, though.
Was this his 10th year?
This was his final year.
Oh, wow. So he falls off the ballot. I never really necessarily got Hall of Fame from Jeff Kent, but that's tough for him.
I think Sheffield's going to – I think everybody up there except maybe Beltran, but Beltran should probably get in eventually. I saw a tweet, and I love this idea. Tell me your thoughts. Because having to wait – and you've made this point on this show about if you're a Hall of Famer, why does it matter if you're first ballot or not? What's the difference? This person said one time, you're on the ballot once.
You get in or you don't?
You get in or you don't. Wow. Because that eliminates all this, making somebody wait BS. Like, it's straight up, are they a Hall of Famer or are they not?
And, I don't necessarily disagree with that concept, but you are limited as to how many people you can vote for.
Well, I think there would be. I think you would probably have to change that.
Well, you would, yeah, you'd have to kind of revamp the entire process
you
if
gotta
that was
remember,
the way you went.
You'd only get one ballot, so there would only be there might be 20 names, there might be 8 names that
Because you don't
qualify.
have the holdovers from the previous year.
Just throw that.
One and done, huh?
One and done, baby. Speaking of Hall of Fames, Heather
Halls of Fame.
I'm sorry, you're right. Halls of Fame. The NASCAR Hall of Fame induction took place this past weekend, and Heather Williams was on site. So we'll talk to her about that in just a moment on Main Street Sports. They're presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. So y'all stick around. We'll be back after this. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com. That's new. Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. We do have some new music today. You might hear some new tunes. So looking forward to
Justin getting in his bag over there.
Yeah.
DJ Justin.
on the ones and twos.
There we go.
Each Wednesday, for the most part, throughout the year, we get a chance to visit with our favorite motorsports analyst, reporter, expert. And so this week, no different. We welcome in the award-winning Heather Williams.
Hey guys, what's going on?
Heather, you had a bone to pick with Chris last week. We have one to pick with you today.
Oh gosh, what I do?
Because apparently last Wednesday was your pick.
Yeah.
Oh yes, it was.
Not tell nobody.
We did not know, because we would have brought you in accordingly had we known. So happy birthday to you, Heather.
Yeah, is right. We don't need to talk about numbers. That's why I don't get that excited about it anymore. You pass a certain number, and you think you pass a certain number, and you're like, oh gosh. Like I look back on my Facebook statuses from like 15 years ago, and I want to strangle that person. It's like that person's like,
Yes.
oh, I'm 2 days from being old. It's like, oh, get out of here. So yeah, we're long past those birthdays.
Okay, but there's a line in which you stop getting excited about birthdays, and then there's a line that you start getting excited again because you've made it to a certain moment.
It does beat the alternative. So yes, happy birthday, and you celebrated quite well, I guess.
Yeah, on the air.
Yeah, well, not just that, but brought home some hardware this weekend.
Yeah, National Motorsports Press Association took home a second and a third. Actually pretty exciting because it's not like, a lot of these awards have divisions and based on your size. The category I took second in, first place was Fox Sports, and the category I took third in, first and second was NASCAR Media Group. So yeah, I felt pretty good about that hardware for sure. Probably more special than most.
So you're in there battling with the big boys, so to speak, huh?
Trying to. You know how it goes.
Well, we know how it goes, but we know you can. So congratulations to you on awards and those recognitions. Just confirming what we already knew. There's very few folks out there who are more well versed in motorsports than Heather Williams, and we're really glad to have her on Main Street Sports Today with us. So there it
Oh,
is.
look at that.
Pictures of the
Oh, look at
hardware.
that. I mean, there was more going
It's
on.
so
There was more
pretty.
going on in racing this week other than just
It's
me
so
winning
true.
awards.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm going to let Chris get to that.
I just want to know. Just tell us a little bit about the trip over there and what it's like to to be among the superstars of the sport for a night or a weekend.
Well, the Hall of Fame ceremony is really cool because you get to see guys that just don't come around the sport very often. Mark Martin walked the red carpet. Mark Martin rarely is around NASCAR anymore. He lives in the upper west, Midwest. I don't know if he wants everybody to know exactly where he's living, what state, because he was kind of hesitant to say it to begin with. But and it's just really cool to see him because he's not around very often. And you had King, Richard Petty, and let's see who else was on the red carpet. Obviously Dale Earnhardt Jr. and of course all three of the guys that went into the Hall of Fame this year. And so it's really neat. Obviously there are some more contemporary folks that show up to this thing, but it's really neat to see the guys that just aren't around very often and hear what they think about the sport. Kurt Shelberdine, who went in, who was crew chief for 4 of Dale Earnhardt Sr.'s championships, was fascinating to me because he ain't all that impressed with NASCAR right now, and he's pretty frank about it. So it was really interesting to hear his thoughts on the current state of racing.
When you get a chance to hear some of these old timers talk, what's is there a difference in kind of how, which NASCAR more so than almost any sport really tries to gravitate to their old school folks. What was that like to see those old timers in the group with maybe some younger folks and that sort of thing?
Well, it was great for me because I love history, but it's also really interesting just because you get a chance to hear them talk about the difference in racing then and racing today. And, just they don't think that drivers then would survive in this era and vice versa. And it's just really interesting. Shelberdine is just not, particularly because he went in the Hall of Fame and I got to hear the most from him, is not a particular fan of the computer advances in the sport. I think he would be happy if they were still racing around on factory stock cars with tachometers and, manual transmissions and out there just doing what they did 50 years ago, which obviously is good for a nostalgia type thing, but it's not really realistic. Not when you're out there trying to compete with IndyCar and F1 in a society that is very much computer generated, and people want to be able to see, sit there and watch the race and also watch your tachometer and listen to your scanner and do all those things that you get to do in NASCAR. So I understand where he's coming from, being a history buff, but it's not really realistic way to operate the sport today.
Now, yesterday there was some news that it appears that some of the owners in NASCAR are making at least some headway in the revenue sharing for the future. Does that seem to be this year the end goal is for the owners, or do they really just want to run more races? Because I can't imagine to put cars out there any more than they have to.
No, they don't want to run more races. They just want more money. Running more races is a ends to that, a means to that end. But if they ran 6 races and made more money, they would be just as happy as if they ran 56 races and made more money. this sport is very expensive, and even with the move with the next gen car to make the sport less expensive because there's less inventory and the parts come to you all put together as one, it's still expensive. And so they really want to somehow get the cost deferred, because obviously the networks are making money, obviously NASCAR is making money, and I just think that they don't think they're getting enough piece of the pie. I don't know the numbers, so I can't say who's right in this argument because I have no idea, but that's their opinion or their position on it.
Now, speaking of the next gen car and all of that, has there been any movement on or any news out there? Because I've not seen any about improvements to the car to keep those few issues we had from happening this year.
Yeah, there has been. They've done some things to make the car safer. The thing, and make the structure softer. The thing when you have a wreck is that you want, especially the race car, you want the car to basically disintegrate around you. I mean, you want it to take up as much of the impact and have as little of the impact on your body as possible. And the problem with the concussions last year was that the drivers believed that the car was too stiff and that their bodies were taking too much of the impact of an accident. So they've made some changes to that. They've made the cars a little less stiff. I talked to William Byron today, as a matter of fact, and asked him, and he says that he feels pretty confident. And drivers, even before the offseason, before the changes were made, just based on what the proposals were, they all were pretty much in agreement that they're pretty happy with that, moving that direction in the cars. Now, all of them say that safety is always a constantly evolving issue. And even on the Gen 6 cars, they were constantly making changes all the way up to the year that they didn't use them anymore to improve safety, because innovation is always evolving. But as far as that immediate issue and making sure that that's not a problem like it was last year, most of the drivers feel pretty satisfied with the changes that were made in the offseason.
There you go. I just hadn't seen it, so glad to hear that.
Yeah, they haven't talked about it that much. They talked about it a little bit at the end of the year, but it's been one of the quieter things on the offseason for sure.
Want to make mention, I saw that and we quote tweeted it, the highlight package of the girl that's in 8th grade that's already scored her 1,000th point in her career for in high school. She's in 8th grade. She's 1,000 varsity points already.
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it?
Now, is this in Virginia?
No, it's in Tennessee. She plays in Division II. Division
Providence?
2. Yeah, it's Providence Academy. It's the first private school that we have in this area, so I'm not super familiar with how the divisions work in the private schools, but she's in the smaller division of the private schools in
So did she play as a 7th grader then, or
she must have?
She did.
That's crazy. The national record is 6,108 points, I believe. I don't think she can quite get there without scoring 2,000 a season for the next few years. But there's the highlight package. I thought, my goodness, she's just out here. Well, watch that jumper. It's smooth.
Yeah. Well, and the funny thing is that she had a teammate yesterday that had a triple-double.
Wow.
So she wasn't even the biggest story. We went out to talk to her, and I thought, gosh, she wasn't even the biggest story, because this is her teammate here. Her teammate had 29 points, 10 steals, and 11 assists, or 11 steals and 10 assists, something like that. And then the young lady, that the 8th grader, had 28 points last night. So pretty incredible.
That is pretty incredible.
It is in fact. But Heather, we appreciate you taking some time and updating us. We look forward to just a couple of weeks, the Busch Clash. For those who didn't hear, the tickets are now on sale for the Chicago Street Race, and they will have 4 concerts: the Chainsmokers, Miranda Lambert, the Black Crowes, and Charlie Crockett.
Just credit everyone.
They literally have something for every single person out there. You can't go to this and not find music that you'll like at some point.
Well, as for the price of those tickets, I would hope so.
Well, Yeah, there's that. There's that. But yeah, so we appreciate you taking some time with us, Heather. As always, congratulations on another year around the sun and on your awards. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much, guys. Always enjoy talking to you.
Appreciate it.
We'll take a break and talk a little hoops on the other side. So stick around. Vanderbilt and Kentucky last night, Tennessee, Georgia tonight, and much, much more. So we'll be right back after this on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. We'll have to let the music play a little longer so we can hear it out over the next few weeks. Man, I'm looking. It's good music, man. So appreciate that. We're going to talk to Chris Harris about the Braves, but did you see Ronald Acuna's home run celebration?
He enjoyed it. He certainly enjoyed it, and
big fan.
I'm a huge fan, and I like that there is a climate where that takes place and it's not a big deal. You know, nobody's chastising, nobody's throwing at anybody or anything like that. And I guess I wonder what the reaction is to a big strikeout or a save in a key situation or something like that. I hope they get to pimp that too.
I'm just glad that the Braves will no longer have to endure, or Braves fans will no longer have to endure the chastising of the game.
Not from among players. I got you.
Yeah.
Well, there's still a color commentator somewhere down there who doesn't necessarily care for it.
Yeah, but I think part of that was
who he was with.
So anyway, nonetheless, let's talk a little hoops, man. I was wrong. Thought Vandy had a chance. Let me tell you something. This Kentucky team is not the same Kentucky team from a month ago.
Well, I don't want to be the one to say I told you so, but I did say Kentucky at some point is going to be Kentucky.
And
you just don't want it to be against you.
And it was, in fact, against Tennessee. And since that time, they've turned it on.
They're not broken anymore.
No, they fixed whatever the problem was. And I think that's huge. I mean, it's huge for the conference for them to be playing well right now and Kansas to be not playing well. I mean, you would certainly – people can chastise you for this all they want, but, you know, conference pride matters in these type of events because we need the SEC needs to win the Big 12 Challenge. You know what I mean? It would be ideal to get some wins in this thing, and a win over Kansas would be huge.
No doubt. Yeah.
Even though
I'm not
continues to hurt Tennessee's strength of wins.
Yeah. Kansas, for Tennessee's sake, Kansas doesn't need to keep losing, but general. But I mean, at the same time, maybe this elevates Tennessee above Kansas where it counts. I mean, they're already ranked ahead of them, but in
Not
NET
brackets.
and yeah. So
But yeah, I thought Vanderbilt was going to score a little more than they did last night. I mean, offensively, they didn't look as good as I thought they could. Kentucky had a lot to do with that. I think Kentucky's defense is a little unheralded to this point.
Mhm.
They did a great job against Tennessee. They did a great job against Vanderbilt last night. I think Kentucky is just a really good basketball team, and obviously the end of the first half was the worst possible thing that could have happened to Vanderbilt. They went from a 3-point game to a 9-point game like that within a minute. So, and then Kentucky just kind of piled it on in the first 4 of the second half, and that was pretty much it for Stackhouse and his crew. And again, it doesn't help that you don't have your big man against the reigning conference player of the year.
Yeah. I mean, not having Liam Robinson, I mean, it's kind of beating a dead horse because they're not going to have him for at least another 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So you just got to figure out how to play without him. But at the same time, you can't say that he wouldn't have made a difference either. So
I think following Vanderbilt's trip down to Athens and getting a win, I'm not sure how Tennessee fans feel about tonight, but they probably feel really confident. And obviously the way Tennessee's been playing since that loss, they've consistently gotten better and better.
yeah,
And
I
you're
mean
at
they
home.
played a solid second half at Mississippi State after they struggled a little bit. Obviously they had some people out. They played 40 minutes down at LSU, and you kind of saw what happens when they play 40 minutes against a inferior team.
Yeah.
Georgia is an inferior team.
They are. And so you feel like you're at home. You have an opportunity to, make another statement.
Yeah, to further distance yourself from that Kentucky game.
You got to play like a top 5 team tonight. You have to play like you deserve to be number 4 in the country.
Because there are plenty of people, some in your own fan base, looking for and waiting for you to throw another clunker out there.
BBS, baby. And with game day coming in Saturday, you got to feel like, this is a tune-up for a big game against Texas. Again, Big 12 coming in.
Yeah, Rick Barnes used to coach there.
I've heard.
Yeah.
I've heard. This is – you can't get caught looking ahead tonight.
No.
And this could be a trap game if your head's not in it. So you've got to certainly, show up and play the game, as Dabo Sweeney said. Don't be flipping burgers. You got to show up. So just throw that out there.
You think that's on a locker room wall in Death Valley now? Maybe we got to show up and play the game.
Play the game.
Yeah,
it was certainly one in Knoxville at some point. I can tell you that. Not the only. The biggest game of the night, Mo, is at 9:00 Central Time on ESPN. The Grizzlies,
speaking of showing up and playing the game,
are on a 3-game skid after winning 11, and the trip out west has not been kind.
It hasn't.
This is a team that's got to find a way. And Golden State, by the way, really good at home.
Yeah, and regardless of what Golden State has going on, they are still the gold standard, certainly in the West.
They're the team.
I mean, they are the kings, and Sacramento notwithstanding. And as Ben Ingram said, if you come at the Kings, you best not miss.
You best not miss.
My favorite thing is the comment, as you can see in this tweet, just says, "Dear God." I'm sure that's a good thing.
Yeah. This is a big one for
Now
for the Grizzlies tonight.
You should definitely tune in.
Take a nap.
Should tune in at 8:30 for the pregame.
Featuring Mike Wallace.
I'm just saying. I just feel John Morant and Kennedy Chandler are both probable for tonight.
Steven Adams, however, is not.
Okay, I didn't.
Yeah, he's out for like the next 3 weeks, I think.
That's not ideal.
Out for 3 to 5 weeks. PCL sprain in right knee. No, that's not ideal.
There you go.
Fortunately, you don't expect Shannon Sharp to start up any issues off the court. So
he might show up. He might show up tonight. Now
that Steven Adams won't be there. Now what?
Oh man, that's terrible. Hey, Mo, I know that. I know I care. I don't know how much you care.
Okay.
But USFL announced its final hubs.
I saw that, and it's intriguing to me. I mean, they call it the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but the only folks that are in it played in the NFL, right?
For the most part, yeah.
I mean, they may have played other places, but they certainly played in the NFL. I mean, there's nobody from the World Football League.
No.
Exclusively in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So for Canton, Ohio to be a hub of the USFL was a little.
Well, they played the playoffs there last year because of the World Games in Birmingham.
Mm-hmm.
They had a pretty decent crowd for the championship. Probably 50% without a team there. Now, I said they may not show up for the teams who are playing there, which are Pittsburgh and New Jersey. Those are the two teams that are.
Folks in Pittsburgh are none too happy about playing their home games in Northeast Ohio.
They're not. They're not happy at all, but they couldn't get it done in Pittsburgh, so it is what it is. And Canton is, they want something. They want folks to have a reason to come there.
Well,
and you can make a football weekend.
Sure, you can.
Because they play 2 games each weekend. So if you have a home date, then both of your home teams play home games that weekend. One on Friday and one on Saturday, or one on Saturday, one on Sunday. I don't know exactly how it works.
Well,
but you can make a weekend of it.
And the reality of it is there aren't a whole lot of games played at McKinley Stadium.
Right.
I think they play some high school games there. They play the Hall of Fame game there, but there's not a whole lot.
There needs to be something there. And honestly, the Canton Bulldogs, if they made a return, I wouldn't hate it. But I did say this. It doesn't matter who is playing as the home team. When Michigan shows up, they're going to come just to root against them. Sorry, Jeff.
TTUN, right?
that team up
north.
They're not going to be happy. So I think Canton is an interesting host city. If you can't be in one of the 2 actual cities, Pittsburgh or New Jersey, and obviously New Jersey doesn't have a whole lot of options. I guess you could play it, in Piscataway, but I mean, who really wants to? And and then Pittsburgh. I mean, I don't think NFL stadiums are great options. Now Ford Field is a little different, but that's where they'll play.
Natural grass at Heinz Field, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they've got. I mean, they don't have a lot of traffic that time of year, but at the same time, they're
getting
doing something to get ready for Pitt and the Steelers. So
I get it. And so I'm looking forward to this season in the USFL because I'm really looking forward to seeing how the crowds have and will increase a little bit. Obviously, Birmingham, one of the rough things about Birmingham was not only were the crowds kind of sparse for if Birmingham wasn't playing,
They weren't great when they were playing.
They kind of got less and less as the season went on, despite Birmingham winning, because it was every weekend. So now you go from 10 weekends to 5 weekends at home. And that's a big deal, I think.
Yeah.
Because, it just makes it a more desirable ticket. There's less time, less options to go. So the USFL, I think, is doing this right. I think they found a way.
Well, this was kind of the plan, though, to go
was.
from 2 hubs to go to 4 hubs and eventually get everybody playing at home, isn't it? So
that's the goal. And I think that's why I think they're doing it the right way. They're slowly growing. No need to pay rent if you don't have to, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the XFL may work out, but to me, I feel like the USFL really has a good grasp on the long game.
Better, perhaps, than any other spring league has. They're not trying to do too much too quick. They're not getting out over their skis, And
that's where I think the XFL is going to struggle a little bit. Is I know these teams are going to be playing in home cities, but to me, it feels like if you're not in that city practicing, you're not in the community doing community events, you're not marketing yourself the best way you can possibly market yourself. So what this will do is everybody's going to be in those hubs. They can go out during the week,
mm-hmm.
market the league, market their game coming up that weekend or whatever, and get folks out. So I hope that's what happens for the USFL. I think spring football needs to be a thing. And I think if it just got to 5 or 6 years, then it would
catch on.
Kind of catch on. Because most people are just apprehensive about getting excited about something that has never worked on a long-term level.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks. I appreciate it.
Little delayed there. Sorry.
Better late than never.
Outside of that, the former Nashville Cat and our friend Kenton Evans putting it out there. He's looking to get into coaching with the Showboats. And I would just like to say to Todd Haley, you should call the man.
He could do worse.
Yeah, call the man. Maybe we need to text Bruno and hook that up. Hey, Bruno, I don't know who needs to hear this,
but we got a guy.
We know a guy who can help you out. The Memphis Showboats, baby, that's so cool.
It really is. I'm going to have to get me some gear.
The problem that I have with it is that I like it.
And it's in Memphis.
And I mean, look, Memphis and Birmingham are the most heated of rivals.
I do like, though, what Memphis is doing with the Showboats and kind of adapting the color scheme that's already in place at the professional level.
I agree.
I mean, nobody's done that better than Pittsburgh, clearly, but
as the Maulers rebranded from purple and orange,
to black and gold?
Yep.
Better late than never again. Yes. But yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty cool when you can create that kind of synergy across teams or across franchises in your city, in your area. Rep your city. Right.
I think, yeah, absolutely you should. And look, I mean, when you've got colors that look that good together,
why would you not?
Why wouldn't you? That's right.
Yeah. As you sit there in your Preds blue and gold.
There you go. Yeah. I mean, speaking of the Preds, big win last night for them.
Huge win. As we talked about the Grizz and their slide right now, the Predators have kind of stopped the slide that they were on during their road trip and gotten home and done some damage.
7-3 in their last 10. including that, that big road trip.
You'll take that. And, you got the All-Star break coming up. It'd be nice if you can take some momentum into that break, not have the bad taste of, 2 or 3 losses. How many more games do they have before the break?
One more. One before, and then they have 2 more at home after the break.
Mm-hmm.
Except we're 4-game stretch here.
So
they seem to be playing, I guess, more loose for some reason.
Well, they certainly had every reason to play tight given the start that they got off to. So, but it's easier to play loose when the puck went in the net, too.
I was going to say, and obviously, 2-1, not exactly high scoring, but they played.
But they won.
They played with the puck a lot last night, and I think that was, obviously huge overall. We don't need, obviously, we don't need our goalies trying to block 35-40 a night,
67
or 67, 64, however many it was. It was a bunch. So I mean, as you watch this team, issues that fans have with the general manager and the head coach. And I think that's what's frustrating to most folks.
Well, and to that end, Ely Tolvanen has had a resurrection since joining the Kraken.
Has not been good.
Yeah, it's kind of the Preds' answer to AJ Brown.
Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, absolutely. I'm looking forward to the Preds continuing the season, but honestly, we talked about the Central Division. I mean, the Western Central having 5 or 6 playoff teams in it last year. Right now, it's the Pacific Division that has 5 or 6 teams that would make the playoffs if they started today. So, got to find a way to pump those numbers up. Got to pump those numbers.
Scrolling through Twitter as we are wont to do, at the TSHF Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame just tweeted, like in the last minute, "We've got a secret and we can't wait to tell you. Stay tuned. The class of 2023 is getting ready to be announced, and we know how Brad Willis likes to get people. So
better watch out.
This should be fun. This should be fun. If you are on Twitter and you're not following, again, at the TSHF, you should, because the next few weeks should be pretty entertaining.
No question. All right, let's take a break. We've got Chris Harris, who is scheduled to join us on the other side of the break, so we'll talk to him in just a moment. So stick around here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Be back after this.
Hockey in Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. It's the sea of gold in the crowd. The goals, the saves, the celebrations. It's an experience like no other. Don't miss a minute of the action this season. Visit NashvillePredators.com/tickets to get your seats today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets. And we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
This is Chris Yow with Main Street Sports Today. Every show, Mo Patton and I welcome friends from all across the sports landscape, from high school coaches and reporters to national, college, and pro sports personalities. You never know who might stop by for a chat. AP Tennessee Sports Editor, 3-time Tennessee Sports Writer of the Year 2020 TSWA Hall of Famer. She covers the Titans, the Predators, the Grizzlies, college football, and hoops. Please make welcome Teresa Walker.
Former University of Tennessee, former Team USA Olympian, ex-Cy Young Award winner, R.A. Dickey. R.A., did I miss anything?
Man, that was sweet. Yeah, I need to listen to that before I go to bed every night. That was nice.
Has 5 sports Emmys. That's not bad for the other guy in Wham, Ryan McGee.
The other guy in Wham married the best looking girl in Bananarama, so the other guy in Wham had a pretty good life.
From preps to pros, we're taking on the sports topics you care about. Tune in across Main Street Media social platforms at 2 p.m. or on demand on your podcast distribution platform of choice.
little funky. We'll take you to funky.
Little throwback.
Yeah.
Said y'all found some old stuff.
We did. Welcome back in. Main Street Sports Day, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Looking forward to this next segment as we talk a little Braves. I know it's January 25th, but we're not too far off from pitchers and catchers reporting and spring training and all the things that go along with that. So,
as a matter of fact, if you go to our next guest's Twitter account, he just tweeted out earlier today how many days it is to a pitchers and catchers report, and with someone's jersey number 24. So
that seems like are you doing that every day from now on, Chris?
No, I can't do that. I happened to see that's Michael Harris. He was his number when
that's
he was,
what
with us last year. Of course, he wears 23 in the big leagues, but I thought that was just kind of appropriate.
Use him again tomorrow.
What's that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I can do it
Chris
again
Harris,
tomorrow with his big league number.
Chris Harris, the voice of the Mississippi Braves, joining us here on Main Street Sports today by Mississippi. Chris, answer a question Chris had earlier in the show. You don't have a color guy, do you?
Sometimes I have a broadcast intern that joins me for most of the home games, so I would consider that kind of a color guy. But most of the time I've been a broadcaster in baseball for 15 years. I've been solo.
It's a different dynamic, isn't it?
You have to be a little bit off to talk to yourself for that long a period of time. But yeah, baseball on the radio will always be, I think, one of the greatest arts in our business, because there is so much time to fill. You have to really be able to tell stories, paint the picture for the audience. And I think most people grow up baseball fans. You grew up listening to somebody. I grew up in West Tennessee and listening to KMOX and listening to Jack Buck and Mike Shannon. I was not old enough to remember Harry Carey when he called Cardinals games, but the sounds of Jack Buck and Mike Shannon, and listening to old Harry Callis broadcasts, and that's the music to summer. Is listening to baseball on the radio.
It's interesting.
It is interesting, and what's really interesting, he's a West Tennessee native. You notice he grew up listening to Cardinals baseball, that kind of thing, and now he's calling for the Braves AA affiliate. And I went to school in West Tennessee for a year, and I didn't realize just how much of a stronghold the Cardinals had on that area of the state. I mean, I grew up in this area, and most everybody's Braves fans, and back then, maybe not so much because they weren't always great, but it was more Braves than anything else. And I guess I just thought that was statewide. And then everything changes when you cross the river. So it's a little different over there in a lot of ways, but certainly with baseball allegiances as well. Chris, how long will this be for you with the Mississippi Braves now?
So I began with them in 2018. And I was with the team in West Tennessee, the Weston Diamond Jacks and Jackson Generals. I started there in 2009 and was there through the transition when they changed the name. Left there after 2014 and got hooked on to a brand new franchise. I was leaving Huntsville and moving to the Mississippi Gulf Coast. So I was able to kind of lead the PR efforts and the planting of the Biloxi Shuckers down there on the Gulf Coast, the Milwaukee Brewers affiliate. And then the Braves came calling in 2018. And when you live in the South, if the Braves come calling, you answer. And I've enjoyed my time.
Especially when they call you. That's pretty impressive. You didn't call them, they called you. Who do you feel like they're calling this week, Chris?
Well, my phone's on.
Have they called you?
My phone's on. So, if they want to.
DMs are open, right?
DMs are open. I think that surprised everybody. Most everybody that I've talked to, was a little bit surprising. I think everyone, would have just thought that, Skip's going to be there, forever. And Chip and Chip and Skip, Chip Carey is one of the nicest human beings I've ever met. And, obviously the family is phenomenal. I've gotten to know his twin sons, who are the co-voices of the minor league team down in Amarillo, Texas. And so there's a pipeline of more Careys on the way. Josh Carey, his stepbrother, is the voice of the team in Rocket City, the Trash Pandas. So the Carey name is still living all through the world of baseball. And I think the big thing is, and it's really, I think you really see the weight of how big of a job that is. I mean, it's been as big a conversation as, who's going to play shortstop the last few days about who's going to be the new TV guy for the Atlanta Braves. So you see how impactful the role is. And, there's not going to be a short list of candidates that are certainly qualified and able that would want the job. And I think, there are some really obvious candidates, and, they're going to find somebody that's phenomenal.
When you say you don't think there will be a short list, Chris, again, it's 20 days before pitchers and catchers report. Are they under the gun in terms of time and getting somebody in place? And will people already established in positions, will they be willing to make that move this close to the start of the season? Because I don't know what that entails.
I would imagine it's kind of like any other business. I mean, kind of like coaching. When a big position comes open, there's going to be a lot of different people that would want that job, whether it be guys that are already in baseball. I think of the name Tom Hart. I think his name was thrown out a little bit the past few days. I know Mark Bowman, the Braves beat writer for MLB.com, put his name out there. I mean, Ben Ingram, who I've known for 15 years since I started back in 2009. He was in this spot, was the voice of the M Braves, and now he's going on a couple of years as the radio voice. The thing about Ben that I always nag him about is he is a bit of a handsome dude. He
does not have a face for radio.
Right. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say it in the most politically correct way. But he definitely is a radio guy that has a face for TV. And I think now he has an absolute love for radio. I mean, he is a radio baseball play-by-play nerd. And I think he has just a passion for that side of it. So, I haven't talked to Ben since. I don't even want to, wonder what he's thinking. I'm sure he's got a lot going through his mind. He's just a true example of getting an opportunity. I mean, here's a guy from Madison, Mississippi, who, got an opportunity doing some college wood bat, then eventually became the voice of the Mississippi Braves. He was doing pregame, postgame stuff and slid into the role. And, you listen to Ben, and it's just like listening now. He's polished himself quite a bit, but he's still the same Ben Ingram that I remember from 15 years ago. So he's taking advantage of that opportunity. And, I think everybody loves Ben and Joe and what they do on the radio side. So I'd hate to mess that up, but Ben can do anything he wants to do. And, if that's what he wants to do, then I think he would be, outstanding.
Again, you being from the South, you being in the Braves organization, so to speak, you might be a little bit biased, but when you talk about the fact that, this job is open and most people would be interested in it, is this one of the better television play-by-play assignments in Major League Baseball? And if so, what do you gauge that on?
Yeah, I think you gauge it on, market size, the regional factor. I mean, with Braves baseball, I mean, it starts and ends with Ted Turner and TBS, and kind of an end of an era with Chip Carey, going to St. Louis. Now Joe Simpson on radio is really the last lineage of TBS. And I think with even the addition of, the Fox affiliates and now Bally's, but the Braves, hit every market. St. Louis is a monster. I mean, St. Louis stretches all over the Midwest. KMOX radio was huge for the Cardinals for so long. And, they have the monster of the Midwest. I think the Dodgers is probably one of the marquee. Vin Scully obviously was the guy there. Joe Davis, who was the voice of the Montgomery Biscuits in the Southern League for a couple of years. True story, Joe almost was my intern in 2010 in Jackson, Tennessee, but he ended up getting the Montgomery Biscuits job. And now he is the voice of the World Series on Fox and took over for Vin Scully. But I would put, obviously the Yankees and the Mets and Los Angeles, the two teams, especially the Dodgers and St. Louis and Atlanta as really the hotbeds of the broadcast industry as well.
Chris, I won't try to hit you too hard, but when I came up with and texted Mo and said, hey, we should have Chris on to talk about this, it was because I had actually seen someone mention your name as a potential replacement for Chip Carey. So I just wanted to throw that at you. But
man said his DMs are open and his phone is on.
I mean,
it might have been my dad. You never know.
It could have. Listen, I understand that. But I do think it's interesting. I wonder if the Braves, and I know that Bally is the TV. So how does that work? Does Bally make this decision or do the Braves? Do you know?
Yes.
It's a cumulative effort.
I believe so.
It's a lot like in colleges where you have, Learfield, IMG,
Yes.
You're technically an employee and they'll say, you're an employee of Learfield, IMG, with the, are approved by, the University
Yes.
of Tennessee or Middle Tennessee State University or approved by Vanderbilt. So it's a, those decisions are made, the Braves and Bally's have, a hand-in-hand relationship. And, I would imagine they've been working on this for some time, and it wasn't probably a huge surprise, but like I said, the bench is extremely long for them. And, it'll be a decision that they both are very comfortable with.
Now, that being said, is it possible that they stay in the Bally family and move somebody around? Because I've heard a couple of different names from literally from South Beach to Seattle. There have been names thrown around. So is that most likely, or do you think they might try to go to somebody outside that box?
This is the silly season for broadcasting, I guess.
Right? It's talking season, baby. My
goodness. I really don't know. It just, you don't know what. It's got to be the right fit, and I think with this type of, I saw somebody posting, and everybody either loves you or hates you if you're a broadcaster. I think, some people, said, well, I'm glad Chip's gone. Or some said, I loved him. I thought Chip was phenomenal. His voice, that voice is basically your soundtrack to summer. So, they want someone that's going to be, from a personality standpoint, from a talent standpoint, from a recognizability standpoint, that's going to be the soundtrack to summer. Say again?
Do they go to Rocket City and keep a Carey in the booth?
You never know. You never know. It's hard to leave the trash pandas, though. They have a great thing going.
It would be hard to leave Toyota Field. I'm not going to lie to you. It's nice over there.
I don't know. I wish I had the blueprint, the answer. I just know they have plenty of options. I didn't even think about Tom Hart, but I don't know what he would like to do. I think he would be perfect for the job. Like I said, Ben Ingram would be perfect for the job.
So I found the tweet. So I've been looking for the last 20 minutes. Benjamin Chase. I don't know if you know him. I believe Ben Ingram should be the lead candidate for the play-by-play job in Atlanta. However, I'd really love to see the organization move from within and bring Chris Harris from Mississippi to Atlanta to take Ingram's radio spot. So how about that?
I saw the grin on his face when you said Benjamin Chase. You know this guy?
I don't think so.
Oh wow!
He's a reporter for the Huron Plainsman.
Okay, maybe you should get to know him. Yeah, maybe you need an agent. Yeah,
I'll put the check in the mail.
Big Gentle Ben on Twitter @ Big Gentle Ben.
There you go,
Chris. Obviously, there's a difference between radio play-by-play and television play-by-play. For you, for Ben, for whoever it is, if they're coming from that radio background, how tough is that transition?
It's a totally different animal. In my off season, I do some TV work, the ESPN Plus, and different streaming platforms. It's a totally different animal when you can actually see what's on the screen. You're no longer necessarily painting the picture. You're more narrating along for the fans. So, you have a lot of different voices in your ear. You have stories that are told via graphics, stories being told via highlight packages. So you're no longer painting the entire picture, but you're narrating along. And, I think, and I go back to Joe Davis, I think he is the best right now when it comes to baseball. And, there's times where you make the call, you make that great, swing and a drive, which that's obviously Chip's one of his big things, but you also let the moment really marinate. You've got the ambient sound, you have, the picture telling the story. And there's a lot of times where you just got to get out of the way. You got to know when that time is. And I think that's the biggest difference with TV and radio is you know when and how to, make your notes, make your mentions to where, you're helping out the audience and you're really watching the game with them as opposed to, telling them everything that's going on.
Well, like I said, I don't need you to tell me what's going on. I can see it, which
Exactly.
is why I would be totally okay with Brian Jordan and Peter Moylan and Jeff Francoeur just sitting in the booth talking. It would be fun to listen to anyway. But
Chris, characters right there.
No doubt. Chris, I don't know how much you got to see of Vaughn Grissom, but can he play shortstop at big league level?
Mm-hmm. He can.
All right, then. That's all I need to know. That's all I needed to hear.
Well, if Chris Harris and Ron Washington say he can play shortstop at the major league level, that's all I need to know.
That's all I need to hear.
Last year during the postseason, and one thing that's really cool with the Braves, they've been so great with me and some of us in the organization. They invite us to come up. I was able to be there, throughout the World Series run in 21. Last year, was able to go up and be a part of the postseason as well. There was a rain delay during one of the series. It was about a 3-hour delay. And Dave Lazat and I, the broadcaster for AAA Gwinnett, went down to the dugout just to kind of hang out down there and see if we could see anybody and chat. And Ron Washington was sitting in there, and literally we talked with him for about an hour. A lot of it was about the new rules this year, which is the no shift rule and the pitch clocks coming into effect. But we talked about Vaughn Grissom, and his plan was to have him come to New Orleans, where Ron Washington lives, several times throughout this off season. And, from what I've seen and read, that those visits have happened and they've gone extremely well. And if Ron Washington says you can play the infield, then you can play the infield. And, not only do they have him, but they have Orlando Arcia. So, I wouldn't, if I'm the Braves, I'm a Braves fan, I'm not really worried about shortstop. You got a couple of really good options for the short term, and I think Vaughn's a superstar in the making.
There you go.
There we go.
Chris,
from a guy who saw him for what,
Mm-hmm.
3 months last year, I guess.
I mean,
every day.
He was literally playing for us against the Tennessee Smokies on a Tuesday night. On a Wednesday night, he had a home run over the Green Monster at Fenway Park. So
and that ball was crushed, by the
You'll
way.
take it.
Yes.
I mean, he's got the it factor, and I think the Braves are in such amazing shape. I mean, it's just going to be a lot of fun to watch.
No question. Chris, we appreciate your time as always, man. We look forward to talking to you a little bit closer to baseball season, and good luck this year. Let us know if your DMs get slid into.
I'll be sure to let you know. Always great talking to you guys.
Somebody's sliding in like Chase Utley.
Yeah, be sure and let Big Gentle Ben know as well, because he will certainly want to know. So yeah.
I need to figure out who that is.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, man.
Got it.
All right. It is time for Wild and Wacky Wednesday, where we give you the weirdest and the wildest news from across the world.
And Florida.
And listen, I missed out getting to talk about this week. So I'm not missing out this week. We're going to start off.
Talk quickly.
In Florida, where a Florida man here's the worst part. He was out on bond for allegedly abusing a baby.
Hold on, repeat that.
And so
there, Chris, repeat that one.
So he was out on bond for allegedly abusing a baby, which is bad enough. And so now Patrick Abbott, 31, entered Publix on Biscayne Boulevard in Miami when he handed an employee a note that said he had a gun and to put the money in the bag. After reading the note, the worker pretended to help another employee and called for help. He left empty-handed and was arrested on Northeast 50th Street while throwing his note away. As it turned out, the gun was a stapler. I don't have my staplers over there. Mo, don't pick that stapler up and come over here because I ain't got no money.
What's the point then? Yeah. Wow.
There is no point.
A stapler.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do. Cumberland, Rhode Island. The Rhode Island Department of Health says it was not able to definitively confirm or refute the presence of a certain person after a young girl requested to have a partially eaten cookie and a couple of gnawed-on carrot sticks tested for DNA to see if Santa Claus is real.
We saw that on the news the other night. That's hilarious.
The department tweeted on Monday, "We all agree something magical may be at play here." The department said it found no complete matches to anyone in the combined DNA index system, but there were a partial match to a 1947 case centered around the 34th Street in New York City. That's a fantastic. Good job. It would need more DNA samples from other known Santa encounters to make a definitive match. So I hope they get inundated with like kids from Rhode Island just sending in cookies.
That's funny.
And fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me three times. I don't know what to tell you. A woman was pulled from a storm drain for the third time in just over 2 years. Delray Beach police say she refused to come out of the pipe after she swam into it to avoid police. Firefighters finally got her out. She was rescued from a storm drain in March of 2021, and she was actually reported missing and said she, for weeks, wandered around the canal's storm drains trying to get out. She got lost. So that's nuts.
She's nuts.
No doubt. That's Wild and Wacky Wednesday. We'll be back tomorrow. It's going to be a fun one. We appreciate you. Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. See you then.